Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode is a little bit of a dry episode, but it needs to be covered, and it's all about copyright and basically the whole entire argument of fair use. And I'm going to basically cover how it was sort of viewed in the past and sort of how it sort of hasn't really changed since we go into the future. Just the application is has changed a little bit. Okay, so let's begin with anything starting what by defining what is this all about. Okay, and quite simply, this entire topic is is about how basically this these animes that we all get from Japan, they all have some kind of copyright. Obviously, it's copyrighted by the company who makes the particular anime. Yet we, of course, do some alterations and different things to the video, and then of course we somehow redistribute it and to basically share what we have. Okay, so basically, in the early days, we did a lot of fan subbing for these Japanese animations because again the material wasn't available. Okay, and again we realize that of course this is sort of in this sort of gray area because again we're taking Japanese a Japanese product and we're basically adding subtitles to it and then basically then redistributing it again. Okay, and a lot of people ask, well, how legal is that, and basically does it quote fall under fair use? Okay. And again, I'm not a lawyer, and of course, I'm only just reading this stuff off of the internet. And of course, all these decisions can only ultimately be made by a court or by a type of system. So even as ambiguous as the definitions are, it's even hard to basically come up with an answer. But I'll sort of kind of go over it with you and kind of at the same time sort of bring anime and bring how how the definition of fair use sort of changes over time. Okay, as technology changes. Okay, so basically I'll start with the actual definition. All right, and I'll just sort of read it from verbose from this website that I got here. Okay, so basically the copyright law was basically was adapted, and then basically there's these sort of four things that you sort of should kind of ask yourself when doing this kind of any sort of use of copyrighted material to determine whether or not it falls under quote fair use. Do you actually need permission from the copyright holder to do what you're doing to the actual video? Okay, and the first sort of thing that you kind of ask yourself and look at is basically the thing what they refer to as transformative factor. Okay, and the transformative factor is basically they're looking at are you doing anything to the original work that will transform it by making or adding some sort of new kind of expression or sort of new kind of meaning to it. Okay, now this new kind of meaning could be, for example, if when I was making the anime music videos, right, I could be taking a Japanese animated song or whatever and adding a kind of a different English song and kind of mixing them sort of both together to make a new kind of concept, new kind of thing where you may think of it differently. Okay, now the other thing that it also adds is was value added to the original by creating some sort of new information, new aesthetics, new insights, or new understandings. Okay, so for example, if you're going to do some sort of research or education and that kind of stuff, because you're basically going to add some sort of review, maybe some commentary, some breakdown to it, that can possibly fall under fair use. Okay, so how this relates to how we used to do fan subs and that kind of stuff to anime, basically we would take a Japanese, for example, series, for example. So here's my LD box set for Dragonar. Okay, it's all in it's still completely in Japanese. Okay, so basically what we did is we used to took the the laserdisc. We got English translations made for them, and then basically we'd hard subtitled and supplied the English translation subtitles to the to all the episodes and that kind of stuff in that series, and recorded it onto a VHS tape. Okay. And so that would could be it would be possibly considered fair use, because again we're adding a translation, we're adding some information to the actual video, and to large portions of the video where that did not exist at the time, because again the Dragon Art at this time, Dragon Art would be a series that would be aired in Japan, and really only place that you would actually watch and see this particular show would be on Japanese TV. Okay, so that's just sort of only designed for that sort of market, and that's where it would stay. And so we're basically adding some sort of information which allows it to be understood by people who are not Japanese. Okay, so that's we're adding that sort of understanding. So again, that might possibly fall under fair use. Again, can only be decided in in a court type situation. All right. So that's usually what so for that reason, we didn't the fan subbers in the early ages weren't really weren't really hassled by the copyright owners, because again there was this sort of gray area, but we knew that we didn't cross over that, or we were very cognitive of that thing for it again. Okay, because again we want to try to spread, sort of say this genre, try to get this genre of anime more well known. Okay, again, we were very very small, and we wanted more people to be knowledgeable and basically be able to enjoy this thing called Japanese animation. Okay, so again, we were very cognitive of trying to grow the market. Okay, and that's maybe something that's lost in the modern generation, because as I said, when digital fan subbing started coming into play, things like digital fan subs and that kind of stuff, where you're able to do the fan subs entirely on the computer. Okay, you're able to download episodes directly into the computer. That gets rid of certain things that are no longer present in the previous generation, because obviously when you download these things and whatnot, there is no ownership of the original product. Okay, you've never went out and bought a laser disc for the thing. You just downloaded it off the internet. No money was ever paid to the original Japanese companies for for basically their work that they've done. Distribution on the internet was also a lot harder, because you couldn't stop distribution once a commercial company had picked it up. That's the other thing that we had was sort of say one of the unwritten rules was that when a commercial company has picked up the rights to a show, like for example Dragon Art, which they never did anyway, but if they did, then we would be able to say, okay, we're going to stop making fan subs of it, we're going to stop distributing it, and you could really easily do so by doing that, because again, everything was being distributed by VHS tapes, and basically you would just stop distributing the tapes, and that would pretty well much cut the distribution and the chain from there. When you get into digital fan subbing, that was obviously a lot harder, because once you've posted something onto the internet, it's very very difficult to stop all the different nodes and all the different things that have downloaded it and have basically got it to basically not continue to redistribute it and to restop it again. I guess synonymous to trying to, for example, trying to stop certain viruses from happening, for example. Okay. But yeah, so that sort of thing happens. Okay, and then even now with even newer versions of distributions of things happening. There are things like, for example, happening where YouTubers and people are basically doing anime reviews or anime what they call reactions, okay, to that, where they're playing full episodes of anime and they're just reacting to the anime and basically not adding any sort of transformative content to it. Basically, they're not doing any sort of analysis or comments or basically anything to review the actual anime itself. they're just basically letting uncut episodes. For example, like Susie Liu on YouTube has basically done things like that to try to disguise and hide things on that for to the anime, and they'll basically using that to basically get views and of course try to monetize that. And that's of course definitely the wrong thing to do, because again we want to try to make sure that the anime companies are getting what they can, because again, if you like the particular anime as as a fan, what you want to do is you want to show to the companies that, hey, I'm a fan of your anime, we want you to make more of it, especially if things like if you enjoy the anime in a dubbed form, it definitely requires a lot more money, obviously a lot more production work, for example, because you have to do the actual whole voice acting and that kind of stuff, and get that all the production of that done. Again, requires a lot more work. You want to show that the companies that, hey, I like your product, please make more of it, because if they don't, then the company goes under or whatever. They decide, okay, this isn't making money, we're going to stop. So if you really enjoy a show like Naruto or Sword Art Online or whatever, then that's what you want to do. You want to show them, hey, please make more. When more Naruto episodes come out, please dub those as well. Let's get the entire series all done, okay? And the only way to show that is, of course, show them that you are really a fan of the anime, okay? So basically that's what has transpired in regards to the step one of fair use, and that's sort of okay. The second sort of pillar, if you will, of the fair use argument is basically it has to do with the nature of the copyrighted work. So basically, they want you to if the particular copyrighted work is sort of a factual type of thing, like for example an autobiography or information that based on around facts, they tend to give you more leeway to say that you can use that as material without actually infringing copyright, because again it's stuff that really happened in the in real life, as opposed to something like a play or a novel or obviously a movie. Okay. So obviously, this doesn't really weigh too much well on us, because of course most of the stuff that we're using is obviously anime and stories, or it's fiction, obviously. So that doesn't really help us in that respect. However, the only thing that you could take away from it is that since this work that we're using is in a published format, i.e., it's published in a form of a laserdisc, then again that you get a stronger case for fair use, as opposed to using something that's unpublished, because obviously if say you take something from like a doujinshi or something or whatnot, which hasn't been published yet, then obviously then the particular author can have the right to control its first way that it actually becomes published or known to the public. So again, in terms of anime, that doesn't really apply so much, but again, it's important that you get the original work if you can, and buy and purchase it. Like for example, like my Dragon R box set here, actually go and spend the yen and actually buy buy the original laserdisc. So I actually had something, a Japanese product that they actually paid for, and then therefore royalties and that kind of stuff actually go to the to the artists, the authors, the manga people, and all the production people. And that's the important thing. You want to show your fan support, put your money to the right people, okay, so that they know that their work has been thanked. Okay, the third pillar in the copyright fair use umbrella is considered the amount and the substantiality of the part that you're using. Okay, so basically, the concept is that depending on how much of the original copyrighted material that you use, you're more likely to be excused as fair use if you use less of it, of course. Okay, now of course that's not to say that if you take the most important part, like for example if you're taking the chorus out of a particular song, that might be more important or more memorable part of the actual song than, let's say, the first few verses or first few lines or something. Okay, so as they usually say, the rule is less is more. But again, it varies, and again, it can't be decided until, of course, you take it to court. Now, of course, in the case of anime, well, we're virtually subtitling the entire episode, so again, it doesn't really, doesn't really work well for the for the fan subbers and the people who are doing work with anime. But again, in the case of, let's say, for example, if you're doing like an AMV or something, okay, where you're only most AMVs are only most songs are 3 to 5 minutes long, and of course the whole episode of an anime is like 22 minutes long. Now again, okay, if you're only using just that much, and the fact that it's all kind of cut up and from different episodes and different parts of the episode, then you might have a better chance of landing fair use. But of course, again, even with the digital fan subbing, the same thing. You're basically taking the entire episode from basically opening credits to ending credits, essentially. And then even if you theoretically take out the credits and just go from essentially when the episode first starts to when the episode first ends, that's going to be pretty much the entire thing, the core of the episode. So to do that, and use it in a non-altered way. So if you didn't do anything from step 1 or 2, then you probably not gonna win the fair use argument in that sort of case there. So again, this is a hard one to do for basically people who are like doing fan subs. And of course, again, if you are following the Suzy Liu catastrophe, then that's the same sort of thing too, where you basically trying to review, basically react to full uncut episodes of Naruto. Well, again, that's not going to fall under fair use using pillar number 3. Okay, so the fourth pillar, or this umbrella of fair use, is the effect of the use upon a potential market. Okay, and what this basically means is that does this use of their copyrighted material affect the income, or possibly undermine the income or the potential market for that particular work? Okay, and basically, are you depriving the original company or the original copyright holder of money that they could have made on this particular product in your particular area or that particular thing? Okay, and basically, if you are actually depriving income, or you are making income yourself, then that's they have a much highly better chance to win against you for use, and obviously trigger some sort of lawsuit to determine that. Okay, so and then it's also true even if you're not even directly competing with the original work. Now again, because in the early stages of, for example, anime, when you would basically, for example, buy like something like this Dragonar Laserdisc box set, okay, because for example, Dragonar in this sort of situation, again, it was only being released in Japan on Laserdisc. It's only in Japanese. There's no English subtitles, no English dub. So they really basically made it, to be only sold in Japan, basically, and basically be enjoyed by Japanese-speaking people, even if they live in Hawaii, Guam, or whatever. They really only designed it to be enjoyed by Japanese-speaking people. Okay, so for that matter, because of the fact that I even went through the extent of actually buying a Japanese version of this thing and making English subtitles, for this particular show. Well, obviously when I was doing the fan subs, we weren't making any money on them. Even though we were, distributing copies of the tapes to different people and that stuff, fan clubs and that kind of stuff, trying to promote the word of anime, to promote the show called Dragonar. But again, they never determined at this time North America to be a market for anime, because it wasn't in English. And they didn't determine that, the extra resources needed to put subtitles, for example, onto these laser discs. Again, because at this time there wasn't ability to have selectable, removable subtitles and that kind of stuff. And obviously, they weren't going to spend the time to hire English voice actors and that kind of stuff to voice act a show called Dragon Art. So again, obviously they've already done or maybe they haven't, done a cost versus analysis of how to basically release this Japanese animation to other parts of the world that are not Japanese. Okay, of course, Dragon Art is an exception. I mean, there could be other shows at this time that maybe were possible. Maybe Ixir 1, Project Echo, Megazone 23, Maddox 01, Bubblegum Crisis, things like this. Okay, maybe somebody decided, hey, it is possible to make money on anime. It has to be the right kind of anime, and we have to subtitle it or whatnot. But there was a small partial market. So again, as long as we understood that we're not going to step on their toes and let them try to make their money on their anime, we have an unwritten rule that first originated from this, that when a commercial company wants to release a commercial version of a particular anime, then we would stop making fan subs, and we would stop distributing them. So for example, we did a series called The Record of the Lotus Words, the OEVs, and again, very, very popular series. And again, it got picked up by Central Park Media, and they decided, okay, well, all right, no problem. We will stop, making any more fan subs of the Record of the Lotus Words, and we'll stop any distribution of any VHS tapes and of our fan subs of that. Okay, and so that's to basically help the companies say, hey, we've tested the market for you. We've seemed to indicate that there is this fan interest in Record of Lotus Wars. And again, later on, this was very, very valuable because it proved that there was also this fan market for like more female-orientated shows. Utena was really, really popular. His and Her Circumstances was really, really popular. And different shows like this, which shows that the other half of the market which has been missing in anime is also interested in anime, and you just got to find the right titles to give them as well. So basically, yeah. So I mean, at this time, when we did fan subs and that kind of stuff, we worked closely with the commercial companies because we wanted to know what they were up to and what new releases that we can expect from them, because we want better copies of the stuff. We want English dubs so that everyone can sort of access them. I mean, I'm personally a fan sub or a subtitled version of anime type of person, but again, there's a lot of people out there, and I realize that the mass market would like the animes to be dubbed, okay, just to make sure that it's easier, for the lazy people. That's fine. But they need it dubbed, so it's important for. And I realize that this is how to grow the market, to grow and get more anime, and and spread the word of anime and get more people interested in anime. Okay. And so that's why we worked closely with the anime companies. We want to help them as much as as we can as a fan, because that's what a fan would do. We want to support the embetterment of the genre. Okay, and so that's how that unwritten rule sort of occurs. And I know that for example, when the fan subs of Naruto first came out again, like we did in the past. They again stopped distribution of Naruto and fan subs and that kind of stuff, and basically let the company continue to make English dubs and English subtitles for Naruto. Again, it happened at a time where the main distribution is now digital and going over the web. So actually stopping episodes and that kind of stuff, it was a little bit on the tough side. But I think now with more the sources and that kind of stuff, the entire torrenting thing has now subsided. Things have basically normalized out a little bit better, and that's now falling, and that's good because that's what we want. It's things that now, of course, for example, like the reaction channels and basically trying to disguise copywritten material through YouTube and trying to monetize that through YouTube or through a paywall, like for example that Susie Liu's done. Um, that's not good usage of the fair use, and that's not how basically our fandom should be representing and doing things for the industry. Because ever since the crash of 2008, the anime industry has never been the same, and things like like this misdirected funds of anime is it's just going to hurt the market even more. And it's making it really hard for the anime market to recover. And again, that's bad because we want the companies to make sure that that when new animes come out, please release them. Let's get them licensed and let's get them on Netflix or Crunchyroll or whatever. Let's get those out so that even the new stuff that comes out, we'll be able to see when new episodes of Naruto, or maybe they make a sequel or a reboot for Sword Art Online, or maybe they make another Attack on Titans 2 or something. Okay, when that comes out, we want to make sure that Funimation or whatever it goes, hey, it was popular. We're gonna license that. We're gonna put that on Netflix. We're gonna put that on Crunchyroll. And we're gonna get it out there so that everyone can enjoy it. And that's what we want. We want more stuff because ever since, as I said, the crash of 2008, we've lost Toonami. We've lost all the stuff that used to be on the Cartoon Network. All this anime that we used to have and took for granted is all gone, and it's shrinking, exponentially as much as we think that all this new anime is coming out. We've actually lost a lot more of the the genre or the thing that we used to have, and it still hasn't been the same ever since the anime crash. So we still got to do our part to help this out, or else the industry will go back to the dark ages almost, as it were. Okay, and according to the website fairuse.stanford.edu, so basically from Stanford University, they have a special article about fair use. They added a fifth kind of fair use factor question that you should ask yourself: are you good or are you bad? Okay. And it's kind of a weird way to phrase it, but basically, you basically want to look at this, and you look at the copyrighted material. Are you doing something positive, or are you positive to help basically improve the image or the idea of the actual original content? Not to say that you can't review it in a negative way, or to basically to say negative comments about it. But what you do is you want to make sure it's should I say in good taste, I should say, or it's rationalized. Okay, if it's morally just, or people are not going to be offended by the thing. Again, it's hard to determine who and how gets offended, which right or left, or are you offending some minority group or something like that? Again, that has to be decided probably in a court or whatever. But for example, you maybe if you're gonna parody something, or you're gonna mix it in some sort of way, you don't want to make it in bad taste, okay? Or you don't want to paint it in a bad image, okay? So I'm thinking. So obviously, when we're doing things like Fansubs and that kind of stuff, that doesn't really apply unless you're doing some sort of parody fansubbing or something, or sort of one of those bad English dubbings or whatever, alternate translations, if you will. And you start making that racially, insensitive, or you're covering it with expletive deletives and things like that. Okay, yeah, then you might not be under fair use anymore, because you're degrading the product, rather rather than adding to it. Okay, shall we say? the only sort of kind of examples I can think of from the top of my head in this sort of situation would be some of those wacky AMVs that I decided to make, that were made, and basically, obviously, a lot of them were sort of topics and kind of things where, okay, hey, let's use this song with this anime. I can see these scenes working really well with this part of the song. Like, so for example, Bon Jovi's "You Give Love a Bad Name." First line of the song is "Shot Through the Heart." Okay. And so again, we used an image of from Excel Saga, where Excel basically got shot right through the heart when basically that line hits, shot through the heart, right? And again, so if Bon Jovi thought that was offensive and that's against morals or whatever, or that's a inappropriate use of guns or something or whatever, okay, and he didn't like that, okay, maybe he could say, yeah, that he can say that's not moral. I don't like that, and they may rule against that as being fair use. Okay, and another example sort of came to mind was we were thinking of that song "Let's Dance" by David Bowie. So you're thinking of the dancing sort of song, let's dance, put on your red shoes and dance the blues, right? And so we thought, wouldn't it be funny if we got Fist of the North Star, and after Ken hits him with the special fingered attack, and then basically the bad guy's head would explode, and then of course like a zombie, they still kind of danced around a little bit, and then they flop over, right? So we decided, okay, let's sync just that part of the video to "Let's Dance," and kind of do that, and kind of put on your red shoes and then dance the blues. That exact part, we'll just have the headless the bad guy kind of walk, kind of twitch around like a zombie for a little bit, and then go. Okay, so again, so in theory, yes, if David Bowie didn't like that and he thought that was offensive and that was insensitive or whatever, and he didn't like that, then yeah, he could theoretically say, yeah, okay, I'm gonna strike that and say, yeah, that's not fair use, and that's that's in bad taste or blah blah blah. He might have a case for that. Okay, so that's just sort of another thing that you should probably be cognitive and maybe pay attention to. Again, people think things a little differently, and even if you kind of follow all four of these tenets, and you kind of go, well, okay, I can check mark the first two, but I can't really check mark the middle two. Then the fifth one is sort of like your tiebreaker, and you say, well, I'm doing a good thing because I'm fan subbing for the better use of the fan community and the English speaking community. So okay, yeah, that's 3 out of 2. Sure, okay, 3 for 2. That should be all right. But it doesn't work that way. Okay, so again, you're in the gray zone. Try to stay behind on your line and know where you are, okay? Because as I said, if you don't, then you can end up with in trouble, okay? And again, there are things like stop and deceases and that kind of stuff, and I know on YouTube they throw copyright strikes and community strikes and all this other stuff around, which is a whole big mumbo jumbo of stuff, of things you got to worry about. But again, that is what we had to sort of think about and be cognitive of when doing things like Fansubs, especially in the early times. Again, the ending sort of statement that we should all know is that again, we do this because we're all fans of anime. We want to be fans of the genre. We enjoy the genre. We enjoy the content that we are getting, and we enjoy the anime that much that we're willing to spend this extra money and whatnot for the product to help others enjoy it. And again, maybe they will hopefully spend money on the product, and again make the industry succeed, because that's what we want in the end. Because again, if we don't, the industry will just go flop and they won't make any more, and that's the end of it, right? The companies that make it realize, hey, this isn't working anymore, we're not going to make any more of this because it's a dead franchise, okay? So, for example, I don't know, why they probably won't make another Rocky movie, because they realize, okay, this has been beaten to death. We're not going to make any more of this. Nobody wants to see Rocky 7, okay? But obviously, if they go, hey, maybe we should make another Spider-Man movie, or maybe we should make another Superman movie, or maybe we'll make another X-Men movie, okay, people are going to go out in droves and continue supporting that franchise, continue supporting that. They support it by buying the merchandise, buying the DVDs, going to the movie theaters, and that kind of stuff, okay? So again, not to make weird ass music videos and show uncut versions of the movies online. That's that's not the way to show fan support. You show fan support with your wallet and make sure that the money goes to the right people who deserve it. Okay, so I hope this wasn't a long and dry episode for you. But again, I think it's an important one of an important note, because again, it shows how basically how the rules and stuff hasn't really changed, but because of how technology works and how the market has changed, how that affects and how that changes, as the basically the quote use of fair use in copyright law happens. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to go down below and click like and click subscribe, and I'll get you more episodes when I get them in. Okay, so until next time, see you again.